So I was backstage and I was saying that I'm finding it extremely strange to suddenly be the oldest. I was always the youngest, and with Odetta gone and Van Ronk gone and Pete not performing much, I find myself at many festivals the oldest, and I keep trying not to feel old. I keep trying to convince myself that I'm actually what we call a legacy act now. Did you guys see, there was a Doonesbury comic where there were these two young guys and they were talking to the press, and the press person said, well, what's your career plan? And one of them said, man, we want to be over as fast as possible so we can be legacy acts. I thought, yeah, there's money to be made in being an old artist. We're actually worth much more when we're dead, but so I like to say that my name is Janis Ian. I started writing when I was 12. I was published at 13, made a record at 14, had a hit at 15 and 16, and was a has-been at 17. And that's pretty much the way my life has gone. I started out with a really controversial song about a black boy dating a white girl. And the record came out, and through a confluence of circumstances, it was an enormous hit. And so I found myself at the age of 15 standing on a stage in Encino, California, about this size stage, maybe my 4th or 5th time in my life on a big stage. And the concert was going pretty well. And I started my hit, and I began to sing. And as I sang, I heard coming from over here some shouting. And so I thought, being an artist and pretty self-obsessed, I thought, wow, they really like me. Look, they're shouting how great I am. And the shouting continued, and there were more and more people shouting. And so I stepped back from the microphone to see what was going on. And just as I stepped back from the microphone, one of the figures detached itself from the rest and rose up and leaned back and put his hands over his mouth and yelled out, "Nigger lover, go home!" at the top of his lungs. I was 15 years old. I didn't know what to do. So I started singing again. And as I started singing, the people around him started to chant. And I would sing and they would chant until eventually they drowned me out. And it became obscene. It became this horrible nigger lover, beat, beat, beat. Nigger lover, beat, beat, beat. Until finally I started to cry. And I didn't want them to see me crying, so I walked off the stage. And that's where the promoter found me a couple of minutes later in the ladies' room at the side of the stage, crying a river into the sink. And he said, "What are you doing off stage? The show's not over." And I realized he had been in the box office. He had no idea what had happened. So I said, "They were yelling at me." And he said, "I don't understand. What are you doing off stage? The show's not over." And I said, "They were calling me nigger lover." And he said, "Let me get this straight. You left the stage before the show was over because someone called you a name? You've got to go back." It had not occurred to me to go back. It wasn't even in my frame of reference to go back. I mean, this was the 60s. This was Goodman, Schwerner, and Cheney. This was a volatile time. There was no way I was going back on that stage, and that's what I said to him. And we argued for a while, and then he said the one thing that could get me to go back. He said, "I cannot believe the girl who wrote that song is a coward." Now, I'm Jewish, and I was raised to be a Maccabee. In my family, if you don't do for whoever's being done to, there will be nobody left to do for you. And I suddenly realized that what he said was true. I couldn't go home if I didn't go back on that stage. So I went back, and of course, the minute I picked up the guitar, they started to yell again. And I started to get mad. I thought, wait a minute, what is wrong with you people? That you've paid all this money for all these seats so you could terrorize a 15-year-old girl off the stage. And as I started to sing, I watched the most astounding thing happen. First, the people in the seats around them stood up and grabbed their shoulders and forced them back into their seats. And then all the ushers in the theater came down the aisle and wove their flashlights in these people's faces. And it was extraordinary how once their neighbors could see them, they got quieter. And then the theater manager came and threw them out. And you know, they didn't walk out. They slunk out like cowards. And I watched them go, and I thought, my dad had this picture of Woody Guthrie in his office, and around the sound hole of Woody's instrument it said, "This machine kills fascists." I had always thought that that was just kind of a cute thing to say, but I realized for the first time that night that one 3-minute song could make 2,000 people feel like heroes and show up 15 or 20 of them as cowards. You come to my door, baby. Your face is clean and shining black as night. My mama went to answer, you know, that you looked so fine. Now I could understand the tears and the shame. She called you boy instead of your name, when she wouldn't let you inside. When she turned and said, "But honey, he's not our kind." She said, "I can't see you anymore, baby. I can't see you anymore." You walk me down to school, baby. Everybody's acting deaf and blind, until they turn and say, "Why don't you just stick to your own kind?" My teachers all laugh, their smirking stares are cutting deep down in our affairs. Preachers of equality think they believe it. Why won't they just let us be? They say, "I can't see you anymore, baby. I can't see you anymore." One of these days I'm gonna stop my listening. I'm gonna raise my head up high. One of these days I'm gonna raise up my glistening wings and fly. But that